It's that time of year, folks. The time we talk about New Year's resolutions. I'm going to be joining a collab hosted by Wendy at Plan, Prep, Pray, which invites us to talk about our New Year's resolutions for 2021. Now, I'm going to be sharing some of my own personal and professional resolutions, but I'm also going to be sharing for you inspiration and ways to think about how to have a good relationship with your own New Year's resolutions. Because I've found that when it comes to New Year's resolutions, there's really two kinds of people in this world. There's the kind of people who make New Year's resolutions, and then there's the other kind of people who they either diss on the whole idea of New Year's resolutions and the idea of it's not really going to change anything and you can't change your life like that. And what's the point of trying when you're just going to disappoint yourself and then have to feel that discouragement? Or they have the reason of there's really nothing magical about January 1st. Now I want to address those two kind of concerns with New Year's resolutions. First, the fact that it's really disappointing and discouraging to set goals and then not meet them. And I see where you're coming from, but I would argue, and the way I see New Year's resolutions in my own life is that they are kind of a snapshot in time. I can look back at my New Year's resolutions from past years and I can see where I was at then and where I'm at now. So I can see what was important, what life was like. They're kind of like a little glimpse, a little picture of yourself at that moment. For example, last New Year's Eve for 2020, I made a resolution to plan and execute an amazing trip to the USA to have my little boys meet all of my family and relatives for the first time over there, and that we were going to have a great time, a great road trip. So my resolution was to plan and execute an awesome trip, an introduction to the USA for my boys. Now, that did not happen. Now, I do feel sad about how 2020 turned out in many ways. We all faced struggles that we did not expect to face in this year. But I have no regrets about making that resolution. I like that it was recorded, that I can look back and think about that hopeful, beautiful dream I had. And I hope that someday we can execute that idea. I look forward to it immensely. So you can look at your resolutions as a snapshot of you at a certain time in each year. Now the second thing, that there's nothing magical about January 1st. I 100% agree with this. However, there is a lot of value in yearly self-assessments of your own life, of your own character. A year is a good amount of time. It's long enough to actually accomplish something. It's a long enough time period to actually change something that you want to change. So I encourage you, even if you don't like New Year's resolutions, you don't want to be part of the crowd, choose another time of year. You could choose your birthday. You could choose the anniversary of an important date and choose that time of year to do self-reflection, self-assessment, see where you've been, look intentionally at where you want to go with your own life and make goals in that direction. So that's why I'm pro New Year's resolutions. That's kind of my answer to some of the big objections that you might hear. In my own family, we have always done yearly self-assessments. They've actually been kind of tied into our birthdays. My family has a tradition that goes back generations of asking each person on their birthday, what did you learn this year? And the answer is expected to be something that the person learned about life. So it's not a 1 + 1 = 2, I learned that this year, but something that they learned about themselves, their own character, and their interaction with the world. And it has been amazing to hear even the answers of very young children to that question. So that's kind of my motivation behind really being fully invested in the idea of yearly self-reflection, yearly kind of goal setting, and in general, New Year's resolutions. Now, let's get on to sharing my resolutions. Now, as I share my 2021 resolutions with you, I will be kind of interweaving some points about what I do to make sure that my New Year's resolutions are effective and that I remember them throughout the year. Now, the first practice that I implement is that I record my New Year's resolutions. If you saw my recent video, you already know this, but otherwise I will link this video here. I have a bullet journal for long-term kind of journaling. So I record my New Year's resolutions in this journal each year, and I record my resolutions at the beginning of my yearly planner as well. Now, recording my resolutions in my daily planner, my yearly planner, helps me to remember what my resolutions are throughout the year, because this is the book I'm picking up on a day-to-day basis. But recording them in my bullet journal helps me to be able to look back at past years of resolutions as well. So that's my system for recording them. So basically I'll make 2 pages with the same resolutions each year. So a little bit of setup, but my recording really helps me to not forget, because I'm recording it in a book I use daily throughout the year. The second thing I do is I do break down kind of my resolutions or goals into different categories. So you might have a category for your professional goals, and I'm going to share my professional goals with you right now. My writing is my passion, my dream, my professional field, if you will, and I have 2 big goals in my professional realm of writing this year. One is that I want to get another writing contract and be writing regularly for another company. So I already know which company I will be contacting and trying to set up a contract for. I wrote for them in the past, and I'd like to return to that relationship after taking a break. You know, babies. So I am excited to get back to that. And also, my big professional goal, which will kind of affect some of you, is that I am planning to release and publish at least 1 downloadable, printable homeschool curriculum resource in this year, which it's a pretty big one, the one I'm planning, which is why I'm only saying 1 right now, because it's not going to be like a 5 or 10 page type of thing. It's going to be a little bit hefty. So I've been working on that. It's been in the works and in progress for a while, and this year I want to actually get it published. Now, the second practice that I employ as I do my New Year's resolutions is, I already mentioned, I make pages and I use those pages to record my resolutions. But I actually leave spaces and I leave blanks on those pages so that I can fill them in and record progress on goals as the year goes by. So in the homeschool realm, my resolution this year is to have several, I haven't actually picked the number yet, but probably like 4 to 6 wow moments in our homeschool. I am a nerdy person, so I'm the kind of person who finds a grammar book rather exciting and just normal nerdy stuff exciting. But I realize that I can stretch myself when it comes to homeschooling my kids and get outside my nerdy comfort zone and do some of those more hands-on, memorable, wow types of things. So I'm going to leave spaces in my New Year's resolution under the homeschool wow moments. That's one of my resolutions. I want to have a good handful of those, and I want to record them as the year goes by. Sometimes homeschool wow moments are kind of accidental, but I want to notice what they are. In this past year, I can name off the top of my head several wow moments that occurred because they are the events that kids were talking about for weeks or months after they happened. One of them was a simple walk outside where we accidentally noticed some moss, and I talked to the girls about how moss grows and what it grows on and why it grows and stuff. And then after that, one of them was talking about moss for weeks, and they noticed their book having moss in it and different things like that. So sometimes it's not that a wow moment happens through a whole lot of planning, but to see what kids are interested in and kind of take it and roll with it, and then they remember. Another wow moment involved an anthill and taking time to really watch this whole train of ants and talk about what's going on under the ground with an anthill. So that's my goal for homeschool, is notice and kind of plan and kind of be open to wow moments instead of just kind of rushing and getting on with all the work. Another practice that I implement is I make resolutions a family affair. This promotes kind of that family team mentality as well as gives accountability. So every single year I invite my husband, my parents, my siblings, we are a very close family after all, the 7 in all family, to share some of their resolutions with me, and I volunteer to kind of record the family's resolutions. And throughout the year I'll check in with my siblings, with these different family members on how's it going, and I'll also record their successes. Like last year my husband made a resolution he wanted to read a parenting book and a biography and like spiritual kind of book. So as he read each one of those books throughout the year, I recorded the titles that he read, and I kind of helped record it and cheer him on and be able to show him at the end of the year that he met the goal that he set. I also make goals for my children, and as a parent, you can make goals for your children for things that are in your domain. Not everything about your children is actually in your domain, and it's going to depend on the ages of your children. But some things that your children achieve actually kind of are up to you and actually are up to your investment in that achievement. Now, for me, giving my children the opportunity to learn Spanish at a young age is really important. So one of my specific goals for my children for this next year is to have my older son be speaking in Spanish sentences, because right now he's still really in that toddler phase of just kind of single words when it comes to Spanish. And for my younger son to be having some Spanish words. And that goal is going to take concentrated effort on my part and investment into Spanish stories and songs and games and speaking Spanish myself, challenging myself in my second language as well. So that's a goal that I have for my kids. Another goal that I have for my kids is, which really involves me and my own choices, because, they're 1 and 2. They don't get to make a lot of choices with their schedule, is to prioritize spending time outdoors. I do believe that the outdoors is just kind of magical for children. I know it's not magical, but it's a beautiful place to be with kids. And living in an apartment, in an urban environment, not having our own yard, I do have to be intentional about getting outside with my kids. And I follow 1,000 hours outside on Instagram, and I do tend to track our hours. We got nowhere near 1,000 hours outside this past year. Granted, we had 2 months that we weren't allowed to go outside, so that was a bit of a setback. But again, I'm not so much focused on thinking it's failure or success if I reach a certain number, but when I prioritize it and I make it just a general habit and a rhythm to spend time outdoors every day with my boys, that's great. We have great weather here. I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy this green jungle world. Now for YouTube, these goals might interest you. My goal is to get on a set and stick to it. Stick to a set uploading schedule. I am uploading videos currently at 7:30 a.m. on Mondays and Thursdays, and that's what I'm going to stick to. Today's the Thursday that you're seeing this video, if you're seeing it right on time. And that's what I'm planning to stick to throughout this year. Really stay on a more routine so that you guys are not so confused with when my videos are going to come out. So you can plan on that. Mondays and Thursdays at 7:30 a.m. Be here at 7 and all. And finally, I always make resolutions that impact my character. Again, I was raised in a family that asked you every single year, what did you learn this year? And there was that expectation that you're always learning, always growing, that you should never just be like, I'm good enough, I'm fine, I've reached the age of 29 and I know everything. No, I want to be growing. I want to be challenging myself to live more like Christ, to know His gospel more fully in my life. And so for my own character, my goals this year are to focus on joy, which I think, and that is inspired because 2020 was a rather sad year. I am the type of person who tends to feel sad when a lot of sad things happen around to other people. There were many, many people grieving in 2020. And to be able to maintain joy, everlasting, true, abiding joy, even in the face of tragedy, that's something I want to kind of focus on and learn about, study in my own life in 2021, because tragedy we always are facing. We're always learning how to comfort others in their own tragedies. As parents, we are dealing with our children in their own, sometimes very small tragedies, but very real ones, and how to comfort other people and to love people and have joy, that abiding, Christ-based joy throughout all of life, and not to let kind of the winds and waves and storms of this world steal my joy. So that's something I'm focusing on for this coming year. I hope that you enjoyed this video and maybe got some inspiration and thoughts on how to challenge your own self to grow and learn in each new year. Happy 2021, and subscribe to this channel, 7 and all, for more inspiration for your own intentional family adventures and joyful homeschooling. Bye!